Sorry. Sorry, I wasn't, are we up? Good. I wasn't able to come up because we had to do this. But thank you for the exuberance. It's wonderful. My name is Lyle Troxel. I'm from Santa Cruz, California. I work at the University of California. I have a little radio station. I love to talk about technology. I'm a programmer. I'm a father. I'm a photographer. Blah, blah, blah. If you want to know more about me, that's me online at both of those places, so it should be easy to find me. But let's go on. I want to mention that one of our major sponsors here today is Amazon, and Boris is coming up to tell us about a bit of a gift, I believe. So, Boris, come on up. Thank you. You probably need this.
1, 2, it's working. Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Boris Lucker, really nice to meet you. Many questions following the session we had today about how to run Wakanda environment in Amazon Web Services. So it's very easy and you have a free tier. You can go on aws.amazon.com. You start an account, you look for a Wakanda environment and you can, set this environment in like 5 minutes. And today we also have free credits, about $30 that you can get just stop by our booth and you can get the credits, okay?
Great, thank you. And that's not just today, that's tomorrow too, and I want to talk a little bit about tomorrow. Speaking of Amazon, there's actually another person from Amazon tomorrow speaking more about cloud computing and security. The presentation we're about to go into is going to be in French and English, so I'll be wearing a headset so that we can all talk effectively. Tomorrow we have some amazing people. From Mozilla, the European founder of Mozilla, free software advocate, wonderful person, Tristan Detron. He'll be here tomorrow. And we also have Estelle. Now, I met Estelle 3 weeks ago in California. She's an amazing programmer. CSS and HTML and JavaScript is an expertise. Now, I know a lot of you here today are more of the 4D development type and kind of looking at you stayed, of course, so you're interested in JavaScript and Wakanda in general. And I want to welcome you to the JavaScript community and the HTML5 community. That's what a lot of what tomorrow will be. But you're here anyway, please come. She's amazing, she's a great person to talk with. We also have Perry Gillot is coming tomorrow, and he's an expert in, from Amazon actually, secured business solutions, applications in the cloud. And then the last and not least speaker that I'm very excited to meet is Douglas Crawford, and my slide doesn't fit him. There he is, oh good. Douglas Crockford has the definitive guide on JavaScript, the good parts. If you're in the JavaScript community, you'll be here tomorrow because he's speaking. All the people lined up tomorrow are great. And I urge you to come tomorrow. And it does start at 9, okay? So it's not 9, blah, 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 it's 9, all right? But at 8, we'll have coffee. So come for coffee at 8. Slide in the door at 8:30, that's fine, but be here by 9 in this room here. All right, let's go on to our Q&A. We have two of the key developers at Wakanda and 4D here today, and I guess Laurent is going to come up together with me, and we're going to take questions, and I guess the rest of the staff that's here, they'll also take questions too. So please feel free to ask away. Laurent, come on up. There we go. Both the Laurent R and Laurent E. So we don't have chairs. We just have to stand. Is that good? But do you want to take a mic? Let me give you a microphone. Thank you. Wonderful. So we are going to take any questions that anybody has about the company, about the products. These guys know it very, very well. So feel free to ask an extremely technical question. I am going to put on my French.
Anyway.
Yes. You'll be English?
Yeah.
Oh, it's all going to be English. Sorry. So the first question I've got, I think I've got a note about this. It's on that slide right there. Excuse me. Oh, yeah. So 4D, traditional software development company. Now you're reaching out into the open source space. Why is that a good technical? I asked you before why that's a good business solution, but why is it a good technical solution?
You mean technically, why is it good to be open source?
Yeah.
Technically, I don't know.
Yes, to translate.
Sorry. No, I guess we can get a lot from. As soon as people start, right now we need to build a community, but as soon as we have enough people actually looking at the source code and going into more details about the product, they can start finding some of our bugs and fixing the bugs for us. So that would be a good thing.
Spoken like a true developer, right? Somebody else find my bugs, please.
No, but beside that, no, we really expect to have a lot of extension to the product. And that's, without jokes, that's the part that I really think will be quite important in the community, is that we start to see right now small components in JavaScript, but we expect more and more and to actually have a real base of extensions and plugins and components to
one of the hints that I saw today that is so appealing is the movement of the open source community to do test-driven development. We had a talk today about that, and in general, using source control in an open way. It allows for collaboration you don't get to normally see, even in a large company like yours. Not the scale you see in the open source community. It's really exciting. Can we talk a little bit about the IDE? You've got this amazing IDE, and it's available in Windows and in Macintosh environment. How are you doing that?
Yes, the IDE actually we made, and you saw today. The UI is essentially done in pure HTML5 and JavaScript. So actually, it's a kind of web app, but it's an offline web app. How is this made? Actually, we are using integrated browser. We are using the open source WebKit project for that purpose to run our web interface inside Wakanda Studio. So you can imagine that Wakanda Studio is a kind of a browser running a web application dedicated for development for Wakanda project. So,
when did you start the IDE? When did you start developing it?
When we started?
Yeah.
It was maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
It's interesting that what you describe is what Windows 8 is, right? That's kind of congratulations on that.
Yes.
So, are you going to? Right now, the IDE is not in GitHub. It's not open source in the sense that it's not being,
yet, no.
Right? And you're planning on doing that at some point?
Yes. Yeah, we plan to do it on this point. Right now, there are still parts. When we started building the IDE, there are still part of it that is not easily open sourceable, and because we don't own the right and
to share that
exactly
code.
To share that code. So we decided not to put the IDE because it was not possible legally. But what we are doing right now is getting rid of all those parts to have actually we're trying to be a full JavaScript IDE without even having any C++ or code inside it, and it will be much easier to open source.
So I'll do one more question before taking other questions. So get yourself ready. You can actually stand up and get a microphone towards you. That'd be great. The question I've lost. Yes. So the IDE has WebKit in the back end. The server has WebKit as the JavaScript engine in the back end. Why so much love for WebKit? There are other frameworks out there.
I can answer, yes.
Yeah.
First, we really took time to look at the different solutions that existing, and WebKit was the only one that could be compiled for 64-bit, that could be easily and safely multi-threaded, which is very important for the server. So we decided to go for it. We know it is not the fastest JavaScript interpreter, but it's not far from it. I mean,
well, and the multi-threaded support kind of helps to its speed if you start looking at a larger scale. Sure.
Yeah. So that's the reason
that's
why we chose WebKit.
It's very lightweight, very flexible, and we tried a bit with other, I won't say the name, but
Oh, you
other
can, you
web,
can.
other JavaScript interpreter, and we felt that the one from WebKit was the most flexible and the most actually it bears the name WebKit. It's a kit for web development, and it's very modular. You can take the piece you want inside the whole WebKit, and only for the your specific needs. You are not forced to use the whole stuff
Right.
as a whole.
Right. The other thing you told me earlier was that the IDE, we didn't touch upon this, the IDE itself, most of the code base is shared across both platforms, and you have a thin layer to do the translation. So the reason why the button looks like a Macintosh button is that thin layer that translates that for you. But the actual base code is not OS dependent.
Absolutely.
Right,
Yes.
that's really good. All right, questions? Back there?
Just about the IDE, do you plan to enhance the refactoring features in order to be able to do things like in IntelliJ or less Eclipse or tools like that we are used to use in a daily basis, just to refactoring code, create new classes and so on easily?
Yes. So right now in the IDE you have the possibility to put extensions through some JavaScript code. So we provide a set of API in JavaScript to actually enhance the studio, the IDE, and we will go much further. And a lot of our extension will be written through that mechanism to support refactoring, a better source control handling, and those kind of things. So yes, we go into that direction definitely to improve the IDE.
Did that answer your question? All right, I got a question about that.
Yeah.
Do you see the full extent of the Wakanda solution at some point never needing to go outside of the IDE, meaning go to the code directly? I mean, I know you can, of course, edit the code directly through the IDE, but do you see that the kit of the widgets and of that data modeling and the binding attributes, all the amazing qualities of the IDE, do you see that at some point being the only way that you'd recommend this interfacing with the solution?
No. It depends on who's going to use it. Some people may perfectly be okay with that and they may not need to go through any other kind of tools. But I definitely think that there are still a lot of improvement in the web community. The browser still expand. There are new functionalities, and we would never be able to always keep up at the exact moment of a new browser comes out with new feature to have that into our IDE right away. So people will always have the ability to do it by themselves, and I think that's what's going to happen. So that's the reason why we try to make the document as easily to use with other frameworks and so on.
With VI or Emacs or something, yeah, okay. Anything else? Any other questions, please? We're doing technical stuff, we can do business stuff too. They didn't say that, but I do, so.
Hi, hello again. So this afternoon we saw that nice presentation about the Amazon Web Services. And so it was very interesting to see how all those building blocks work perfectly together. But what I really wondered about was, how does actually Wakanda fit in there? For instance, we saw that nice elastic load balancer, and I think just, for instance, rebuilding SAP R3 in the cloud, and now I wonder if I have 5 million customers, how can I make use of the load balancer if I develop my application using Wakanda?
It is not that complex. You will require some work. Basically, you can have a Wakanda server behaving just as a data store without actually handling the processing and the execution of your code. So you could think of one of the Wakanda server being the kind of S3 or other kind of storage. And then you can have as many Wakanda server being connected to that one to fetch the data and actually processing the request And that can be balanced with as many as you want. The only limitation will be, of course, the logs on your database if you have a lot of data being handled at
Were you
once.
saying logs or locks?
Logs, yes, on your database. So, but depending on what kind of application, most of the time it does not matter because you get a lot of read, some write, and so on. So it's and that's one way you can actually share the work among a lot of Wakanda servers. Actually,
Are you asking specifically technically how you set up redundancy on a Wakanda server in AWS? Microphone left.
He perfectly answered my question. It was more of a general idea how to actually do it. And then when he said that we have one central Wakanda server and then several front-end Wakanda servers, so and that they share their work, I can sort of imagine how you would approach that issue. So,
Have you
question
done this
answered.
in testing? Have you seen?
I've done it in testing. I've also shown a very quick demo today where you actually, when you can say that for your Wakanda server, you connect to an outside catalog, which can be another Wakanda server, the one being shared. And actually, after that, all of your code is exactly the same. So the same as if it was running on the server, but you run it on the other server.
So it's like one configuration line to say, get the source from over there.
Just one configuration line, and then after that, the same code can run, and so you can share, and you can divide with as many servers as you want.
Questions? Down here?
Do you plan right-time feature in the roadmap of Wakanda at different level with the database with notified function like Postgre, for example, or CouchDB, and on client and application server with tools like socket.io in Node.js?
Yeah. So for sockets, yeah, we definitely plan to implement sockets. That's part that. Yeah.
Sockets.
Yeah, sockets.
Actually, we already have sockets, and we plan to implement web sockets.
Yeah.
And so we are.
What about the database solutions? PostgreSQL?
And for to connect to other database and actually have them behave as if they were local models, that's part also of the plan. I don't have an exact roadmap of that. It's a work in progress that is actually going quite well. I don't think it will be in the next release of Wakanda, but it may well be in the one after that. So not Wakanda 4, but Wakanda 5, actually.
You know, what I've noticed today in asking you both and some of the staff, everybody's excited about the next 10 steps they all have in their brain and you have plans for. And it comes down to that resource thing. It's like you can't do all of it. So it's exciting to see those changes. I got a quick question for you. You presented earlier today. You had a Mac up here, and you were running Windows. What?
Just, okay, there's the let's say the official reason and the real reason. Okay.
Don't tell us which is which.
No, okay. No. Official reason, no. Really, I was only working on Mac for when I started in '84, Mac only for 10 years. Then I discovered Visual Studio and their debugger, and its debugger. And really, Apple is good on a lot of things, but not with development tools. It's a nightmare with Xcode, and so with Visual you can really debug C++ code. Very, and the server needs. We have multi-threading stuff and so on. You don't crash. It's very stable. So that's one reason.
So the server and the client are both in Visual. In C++.
Yeah, the studio is mostly in JavaScript, but
right.
the frame around it, yes, is in C++. And the real reason is that after I discovered the Windows, I discovered also there were many more games on Windows, so I decided to stay on Windows.
Very true. That's another applause. Games on Windows.
Sorry.
Another question? Yep, right here. You want to give me your mic? Oh, that's a race.
You're quicker than I am.
Great.
Is any limitation
versus the competitives, Oracle, or as the server, Wakanda server?
Is there any limitation?
Do you want to ask in
For
French?
limitation for
You mean
the
about the
size
site?
or the volume of
yeah.
clients?
Yeah, I understand. So we are definitely right now not at the same level as Oracle. I mean, Oracle can really handle a very large transactional database and with thousands of users. Wakanda is still not able to do that on one computer right now. We've made some tests, but they were only tests for 1 week, so it's not real. I mean, it's not benchmark that we can officially show and so on. But we got a computer with 8 processors with 6 cores, so 48 cores, and we could handle up to 500 users simultaneously doing a lot of things, not just one small request, but actually doing transaction and saving and in different tables with a relation and so on. But
You're saying you could handle 500. Was that where it started peaking?
After that, it crashed, but so we started.
But who knows why, right?
Well,
Okay.
yeah,
All
so
right.
we were testing, so it could have gone further, but then we had to give back the Dell. It was for 1 week only, because it took us time to actually set up a procedure to. We used Amazon actually for the clients, you know, to start several virtual machines on Amazon instances and actually connect as a client and tried.
Meaning that, so to test that load of 500 users, they actually made 500 Amazon client application or servers, right? And all of those then ping back the server. It's kind of a hard thing to do and get good results.
It took us
'cause you
time
don't,
to set up.
Yeah, so why is Oracle able to do it so much better? You've been in the database game a long time.
I don't know, actually. Really, I don't know. I mean, technically...
Money, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's true. They have many more engineers than we have, and I don't know. I haven't looked at their source. They don't provide their source code, so it's difficult to take a look at.
Do you have an answer? Yeah.
Yes, maybe it is a matter of priority. Maybe we put the priority more on ergonomy and ease of programming, and then maybe on running on mainframes and with big data and stuff like that.
Yeah. Do you think that's a viable solution? An 8-core machine running Wakanda to handle 500 clients?
Oh, yeah, that runs quite well actually. Providing you use SSDs. Okay, no.
Yeah. And we're not talking. We're talking 500 simultaneous requests. I mean, that's kind of a heavy load.
It was actually more than 500 simultaneous requests because each one was doing several requests actually.
Right,
so it's
right.
more than 500
Right.
actually.
Okay, sorry to talk so much about your numbers that you're not really done doing. So,
Yeah, because we didn't do real benchmarks.
Right.
I mean, official one where we need to do that actually. It's just because it's in
Other
the early
questions?
stage.
If you don't come up with a question, I have to.
Go ahead.
Oh no.
There is one.
All right. Yeah. Good. All right.
So just looking for each of your personal opinion, one thing that you think Wakanda does extremely well and one thing that you think needs improvement.
First, I think we really need improvement in the way we present the product and in the promotion of the product. Really, I mean, a lot of people think, for example, in the way we presented it up to now, a lot of people think that Wakanda is the IDE. They confused Wakanda and the IDE. The IDE is only one part. You can use the whole Wakanda server or even the framework without the IDE, or you can use the Wakanda server without the framework and using any other framework like XTGS to access the data from. So it's not very clear. I've seen a lot of people, professional developer, saying, "Oh, if I need the ID, it's not for me. I'm using Sublime Text." Sublime Text, you say?
Sublime Text.
Yeah. And I want to build my web page my way. It's not for me. It's a toy. And sometimes if I have the opportunity, I can show him how to build a web page using our widgets and bringing them up, and they're convinced. But so we really lack that kind of information out. In the product itself, there are a lot of things missing right now. For example, we still haven't worked on the... We started just barely working on the reporting on the server, being able to produce a PDF document when you want to print an invoice on the client. You need to send that invoice or sending a PDF generated from a mail and so on. So there are areas where we need more work right now on.
Okay, that's two bad things, or things you're weak on. We'll go to your weak on, and then we'll go back to your bragging stuff, if you can do that. Go ahead.
About the bad thing?
Something you'd like to change, something you'd like to improve, the top of your list right now.
Bugs.
Stability, quality, of course, yes. And we want to now improve collaborative development to be able to provide more ability for Wakanda Studio and to collaborate in the development team on the same project. It includes, of course, source control support and stuff like that.
So you're talking about the IDEs kind of being able to communicate with each other better so that two people can work on the same project, that kind of thing?
That's an idea, yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so just that little problem.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
that's one only part of the problem, and it's not only for Wakanda Studio. It could be with using a web application to modify a Wakanda project remotely, stuff like with only a generic browser, stuff like that. And the other part we want to also improve is hosting, actually.
Making it easier for people to host Wakanda servers?
Absolutely,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Once you did develop your Wakanda solution, we want to make it very easy to host it on a server, administrate the server, and run it, and debug it, and monitoring it.
Right. It's too bad you don't have any partners to do that kind of thing. Okay.
That's not a surprise.
Yeah, I just want to echo what you said. The thing that I've gotten in the last 3 weeks, of learning about Wakanda is, it's not what I thought it was at the beginning, and it's a lot more, and it's smashed together. And I think that's because I traditionally come from looking at the full stack as a web developer and thinking of all the different slices, and you didn't fit in one of my slices, right? And that is actually not necessarily, it's not a simple thing to solve for people in their mind. I think splitting it out, saying we have an IDE, we have a JavaScript framework, and we also have a database/web server is one step. I agree, you're not doing that very well. We've talked a bit about that. But I don't think that's a really bad thing. I think that's a great opportunity. But can you brag about the product?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, what I think is really when we try to build it on very solid foundation about object and relational model interaction. I've seen a lot of true NoSQL databases like Mongo and so on, which are fine and so on, but what I didn't like about those is that for a business application, when you actually need the ability to do joins between different tables, if you speak of SQL, that's something that is not easily done with and not efficient, actually. So I wanted to still have the object metaphor and the ability to really have a data model where you think in object, but with the speed and power of a relational engine. So internally, we have a kind of hybrid engine that can work with object only. You can, if you want, you can store only objects without taking care of
with children
relations.
objects that are not actually relational.
Or you can actually match with tables and relations. And so you can really have quite a lot of speed. I've tried to do a few demos on a 1 million table where you can access the data with different requests and so on different relation levels. Also, the model goes beyond that. I mean, you really have the ability to set up your rules in the model and all your code to behave in a more not human way, but in the way you would think of your business logic. So to really match your business logic on the server and then expose only what you need to expose to the client. So I think that on the server is one of our greatest strengths.
Yeah, and that was the question, what your greatest strength is. I have to agree. Do you ever agree with that? I guess that's true. Whenever I try to explain to not a senior level programmer, but a junior programmer or someone that's not really in the field but kind of has used Excel and Access, God forbid, before, the way I explain NoSQL to them is, well, when you're in a game environment and you really only care about 2 users at a time and you don't really care about the speed of relational structures, because anytime you talk to somebody about business rules, you know, a lot of the stuff we see is employees and companies or classes, school, you know, classes, because we're all familiar with that kind of space, that vertical. You have to have those relationships. That just the game doesn't play the same way without that. So it's nice to see something that gives you objects and allows you to have relations. It's essential, so I'm excited about it. You got something you think you guys are really good at?
Recently, we made a poll on our forum regarding all our early users. We are looking at our product, and one strong point revealed was the ease of installation.
Yes.
And I think it is a strong point actually to be able to download the zip file, double-click, expand, launch Wakanda Studio, create a project, create your model by drag and drop.
But so when I'm in a Node environment, I like the 6 hours of trying to install. I think that's actually fun. I agree. It's so nice to be able to just start. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Another question? How are we doing on time? It is.
Yeah, there is.
Is it time? Does anyone have a program in front of them? Okay. Yeah. We're more than 10 minutes late, or we have more than 10 minutes left? Left. Good. Go ahead. Keep talking, they'll turn it on for you. All right.
Coming from client-server programming, what is the best approach to optimistic locking of entity? In order to avoid the message your modification are lost because another user.
Yeah. So first, let me just explain to people that don't know. So optimistic locking is actually when anytime you load an entity, you're optimistic and you consider that you're the only one that is going to modify it. So you try to modify it and you save it. It may happen that somebody else has modified it in the meantime and your modification is lost. One thing we've implemented server-side is you actually have the ability on an entity to know the difference between your current entity and the one that is saved on disk, which is one way to actually try not to lose everything. For example, you have an entity which has several attributes. You modify 3 of those one, and actually the other user has modified 3 others. In that case, it does not matter. You reload it, you take the one you wanted, you put them back, and you resave, and you don't lose anything.
Okay, but depending on the business rules, it might be that was very bad.
You're right. Actually,
granted,
it depends on.
What about the other situation where there is a hit?
If there is a conflict, then in that case, you may happen you will eventually have to put a message somewhere for the user who actually made the modification, and the best thing is to actually return an object which contains the modification compared to the original, with a dialogue and saying, okay, somebody has already modified this. Do you want to keep that, or depending on what kind of application it is, and so on.
There's basically 3 ways to deal with it. One, you don't deal with it. You let the second person clobber, if possibly, right? Or let the first person win, and don't even tell the second user. I mean, those are horrible things to do. One thing, of course, is to actually give a new type of dialogue for the user to say, this has been changed, which one do you like? Because the second editor could potentially override the first, depending on the business logic. Exactly. And then, of course, the last one is, I don't know, something else. But are you talking about, are you thinking, or what would you like? I mean, I'm assuming you'd want tools to be able to do it in different ways. Is that what you'd like?
Sorry, I don't
Well, the problem, of course, of having a collision, if both Laurent and Laurent edit the same file at the same time and save it, one of them wins. What do you want to see as a developer? What do you want to be able to do? And how would you do it?
This one is working, only this one.
Okay. Well, in the client server, this not happened.
And the reason the client server doesn't happen is when the first client gets the record, you
Yes.
lock it.
Yes.
Right. So that would be a relatively easy thing to implement. Lock it
Oh,
as the first request.
yeah.
The problem, of course, in a web situation is you never really know if the person's there or not. Right? So
You're right.
that first person might have locked it, and then it's locked forever.
Wakanda could
Because they have Wi-Fi in
Yeah,
this
you-
building.
Yeah,
Right.
but this is something you can already do with Wakanda. You have in Wakanda an object called a mutex, actually, and synchronizing event. So you can, if you want, when you load the entity, you can start a synchronizing event and with a timeout, for example, 5
timeout.
minutes, 10 minutes, so that if the user doesn't modify it before 10 minutes, then he lose the lock, and then another one can do it. That's something that is already handled. You can do that.
Do you have a good video or good documentation to how to do that? I mean, you think it
You're right,
seems like
we
if you
should
spent
do
a
one.
week, I know that another
We
week
should
for
do
somebody
one,
is not
yeah.
so good, but if you could spend a week and say, well, these are the 5 different ways of dealing with this problem, and these are the ways to implement it in our system,
But
that would
the-
be a very useful
Yeah,
thing to
you're
decide
right.
which way you want to do it.
The question is what is your suggestion?
I don't have any I mean, it really depends on what kind of application you get. If it is absolutely necessary that there's no collision, then I would recommend going through that mechanism. It is not very web friendly, and I would really not push into that direction if you can avoid it. And I would rather have something where you actually work on it, and somebody else has modified it, then you get a message. And
This is an interesting question because, of course, it is very possible to design your app where you would never have that problem because you only add new records, and the newest record is the more important one,
Exactly.
and you surface to the users a history. So if that's one way to design the app. Another way to do it is have a pretty smart AI back there that decides, well, if you've really done this kind of change and there's a collision, then we're going to do it this way, and not even tell the user. So the app can be extremely smart in the way it handles it, and it really depends on how you want it to behave. If you want to have a lot of collaborators going at once, you're going to have to do something where there's never collisions and you're always editing. We have 2 questions right here in the front.
Oh.
Since the microphone's closed?
there's
Mike.
one here.
What's that? Okay.
Just a very quick question. I just want to know whether it's possible to integrate third-party libraries in Wakanda JavaScript code.
Yeah, it is definitely possible to have third-party libraries on the server and in the framework. I mean, in the browser.
I didn't really get the question. I'm sorry. Could you repeat
to
the
have
question?
third-party libraries to have
Third-party libraries.
Yeah,
Okay.
third-party libraries. So. And yes, so definitely we've made some example. For example, there was a demo just with Angular where they use their framework. So yes, you definitely can use other libraries actually.
Okay.
And sorry, on the server, we follow the CommonJS rules for modules. So you can import modules that follow those rules, and you can make one with Wakanda that follow those rules. and
Which
so on.
rules?
The CommonJS,
CommonJS,
with the modules. And also we've started to implement a lot of the Node.js functionality. So we already have the sockets, so the nodes of Node.js, the sockets, and the buffers, most of their API to put things into binary buffer and so on. So all of this is already implemented in Wakanda. So
It's implemented, or you're using their libraries? Or
no, we re-implemented it.
Re-implemented,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I would like to extend the last thing about the record locking. I think it's more complex because
Yeah,
in
it is.
business logic, you don't lock one record.
Exactly.
Perhaps you are locking 20 records inside another record. So even it is not very web friendly, the logic in the business day and working, daily working is maintain and know which records I'm locking and because I want to lock.
Right. But see, isn't that completely connected with the user interface that you're designing? I mean, if you have an array behind that's addresses of a person, but the first user's not even looking at that, though you do have it loaded in the client, you don't want to lock those. I mean, that's totally dependent on every app.
No, but
Yeah, and the other thing is the transaction. If we have in Wakanda, we have transactions.
Right.
So let me give you an example on record locking where it's not always necessary to lock the record in order to work with it, even though you may have collision. Let's say you have an invoice system, and at one point an order, you take an order, and you want to decrease from, for a product, the number of available items.
You're buying less widgets.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So you have your line, you order line items, and from that you have a relation to your product, and you load it, you change something, you save it. Somebody else can do the same thing at the same time, but you can put a rule in your where if the number is greater than 0, then it's okay. So you get you get one version. The number of object is 10. Okay.
Yeah.
You get it. Somebody else get it too. You decrease by 2. The other one decrease by 3. When you decrease by 2, you save it back, and it's 8. The other one still at 10 because he got it before you saved it. If he tries to save it, he would save 10 minus 3 would be 7. It would be wrong because it should be 5.
Right.
So he will get an error. But in that case, it's the typical case where you can reload the entity. You reload it. If the number of items is still greater than 0, when you decrease, you can resave it. Because once it has been modified by somebody else, but it's the case where the conflict is not important. It's important to understand there was a conflict, but you just reload it and you decrease, recalculate.
And this is where I come back to it really depends on the application interface.
Exactly.
I might design an invoicing system that if I have 2 editors on there and one of them is decreasing, the other decreasing, I do not want that situation, right? Because it could be confusing to someone to subtract 3 from 10 and get 8 or some other number, right? Yeah, are we getting close?
Just a continuation to that optimistic logic looking. If you have support for web sockets or server-side events, you could actually push the first user's changes to the second user so that he would see them immediately, even before pressing the save. So that's probably the best.
That's another way you could do it. It's fine if you have a few users. If you start to have a lot of users, keep in mind that if you have 500 users, then you have to tell 500 users of your modification. Yeah, you could have them do on the one they're editing. Yes, that's right.
Okay, so in this situation, it seems like there's a lot of interest in record locking, conflict resolution on pessimistic and optimistic locking. I mean, those things seem to be extremely important, and it does make sense. You're dealing with situations that have always been in databases. Do you have a solution right now that does allow you to lock an entire object chain?
Yeah, you can. Right now, we provide specific mechanism to lock if you want. To lock, you can. You have So we have two objects: the mutex, which means mutually exclusive, and the synchronizing event, which allow you to lock an object and have instead of another one waiting for it, to have a lot of other one waiting for it, and the first one will get it, and then we'll lock it again for another one, so to have a queue mechanism, actually.
Okay.
So yes,
okay.
we
queue mechanism and a timeout mechanism. For
exactly,
those as well.
plus a timeout, yes.
Okay. So the community forum for Wakanda has been pretty active. A lot of people being added all the time. We covered that a bit in the keynote this morning. And I'm assuming that this is the kind of dialogue that's happening all the time. Are you encouraging people to to do that, or do you feel overwhelmed right now with the amount of requests that are coming in?
No, I encourage questions. I would also like to encourage answers from other users that would allow us not to answer.
You want to open source that part too?
Yeah. No, but really, no. There are a lot of questions. It's right now. You're right. It's almost overwhelming. I mean, there are many answers to give, and we try to hire more people to actually be able to
answer, but also come up with good solutions.
But I guess also an important step is to start doing trainings. We need to do, full day trainings, and that would really solve a lot of.
Raise your hand or clap. Let me clap if you would like to see more trainings happening in, like, even in your area. Just clap if you're really interested in that. There's a bit of that. Okay, I think we're running out, but I gotta say thank you, Laurent. Laurent, thank you so much. Thank you very much. Down at lunch with them, and of course there's a lot more staff as part of 4D that's here that has a lot of knowledge about this. So I highly recommend tomorrow at what time? 9, you will come again. We'll see you tomorrow, okay? Thank you so much.